Hello, and welcome to this lesson of our C Programming Foundations tutorial series. I'm Reza, and I'm happy to have you join me on this journey to mastering the C programming language. In this video, we will discuss the concept of pointers in C. In C programming, when we deal with data, it gets stored in the computer's memory, and every storage location has its own unique address. When you declare a variable, you're assigning a nickname to one of these addresses, making it easier to work with. It's like saying, hey, let's call this spot num1 or temp. This makes our life a lot easier because we don't have to remember those complicated memory addresses. For example, by declaring a variable like int temperature, you set aside a 4-byte space in memory for storing an integer. Let's take the int temperature declaration as an example. What this does is set aside a little 4-byte space in memory just for storing an integer. Now, the actual address of this temperature variable could be anything like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or something else, but that doesn't really matter to us. We don't need to bother with that. Instead, we just use the name temperature whenever we want to store or change its value. So, if we want to set it to 27, we just write temperature equals 27, and that's it. It's a pretty handy way to work with data without getting lost in all the memory address stuff. Alright, so in C, if you want to grab the address of a variable, you use the ampersand right before the variable's name. But remember, this address isn't something you can just store in a regular old int or float variable. You're gonna need a special kind of variable for this, called a pointer. Let's break down an example. First off, we create a simple variable named temperature. It's an int, so it holds integer numbers. Next up, we introduce a new player called pTemperature. This one's a bit special. It's a pointer specifically for int variables. And here's a little tip. Pointers are declared with an asterisk. Then we move on to the third part. We just set temperature to 27. Simple stuff. But here's where it gets interesting. In the last part, we use our ampersand trick to get the address of temperature. And we store that in pTemperature. So, if temperature lives at an address like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, pTemperature is now holding on to that address. It's like saying, hey, you want to find temperature? Here's the map. This C code uses printf to print the memory address stored in the pointer variable pTemperature. The %p format specifier is used to print the address in hexadecimal format. The actual memory address will be substituted for %p during execution, and the result is displayed on the console. Okay, so we've already talked about the first 4 lines of the code. Now, let's dive into what's happening in that 5th line. Here's the deal. This line is where the magic happens with the pointer pTemperature. What it does is, it bumps up the value at the place temperature is pointing to by 1. That might sound a bit technical, so let me break it down. When you see asterisk temperature, that's the code's way of saying, hey, let's check out what's at the memory spot temperature is pointing to. This is what they call dereferencing a pointer. It's like following a map to a treasure chest and then opening it to see what's inside. The plus part, that's just adding 1 to whatever is in that treasure chest. So, if the temperature is pointing to our temperature variable, and temperature was 27, then doing asterisk temperature plus is like saying, go to temperature and make it 1 higher. After this line runs, temperature isn't 27 anymore, it's 28, and that's pretty cool because you didn't change temperature directly. You used the pointer to do it, like using a remote control to turn up the volume on your TV. So this line is a great example of how pointers let you mess around with a variable's value indirectly. You go to where the pointer is pointing and then you can change things right there. It's a handy trick to have up your sleeve when coding in C. By using *p_temperature, we access the value stored at the memory address pointed to by p_temperature. The %d format specifier is used to print the value as an integer. When you run the modified code, it will display 27 as an output. This means that p_temperature is pointing to the temperature variable, and the value stored in temperature is 27. Here is a code challenge for you to get more practice, adding two numbers using pointers.